Hi, it's me. I'm gonna try to do this video with as little filler as possible. I am also going to try to do this video in one take. There's a plane going overhead. Cool. But I was asked by a friend to give short, easy read recommendations. So I put together a list, and I have a few physical. I also will probably be reading off my Kindle for a few. So I wanted to also make a video for it because I felt like that was a great use of my time, in addition to the list that I sent my friend. I already sent that. But I also am planning to film day 1 of my reading vlog 2 tonight. So I'm kind of truthfully using this video as prep for remembering how to talk looking at myself in a camera. Here are the books that I have physically that I would say are obviously single day reads. The biggest one definitely being Piranesi, but we'll talk about it. So I'm gonna go through these with you. I'm setting them down. And I tried to go by a couple different genres in totality, not just the physical ones. So the first 2 that I have for you are classics of Mice and Men, John Steinbeck. Funny enough, this is a day read in my opinion, but if you want something that's going to take you like a month to read, would also recommend a John Steinbeck book, which is East of Eden. But this one, obviously a classic, talking about pain and loss and tragedy, and what do you do when loneliness kind of envelops the soul. So I would recommend, I think everybody should read at least one of John Steinbeck's books. Between this one and East of Eden, I would recommend East of Eden over Of Mice and Men, but this is a good day read. Another good day read that is a classic is A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. This is a piece of pre-modern feminist literature. It started out as a lecture that was given at Cambridge University and then was expanded on into this quick read. I would say it's a quick read. It's under 130 pages. I think it is exactly 127. But I think this is also one of those ones that if you are interested in feminist literature and the development of what it's taken to get into feminist literature, that I would definitely recommend this one. I would also recommend another one. I can see it. Hang on. Vindication of the Rights of Women. And that one's a little bit bigger. That is not a day read. That's a little denser than I would say this one is. So those 2 are really good recommendations for pre-modern feminist literature that are considered classics. The next one that I have is I'll Fly Away by Rudy Francisco. If you know me, you would know that Rudy Francisco has been my favorite poet for over a decade. His work just absolutely wrecks me. It picks me up. It builds me up. I have a few of his poems still memorized from high school when I was in literature classes and I had to like recite poems for like extra credit and stuff. So this is one of his newer ones. I don't think this is the newest, but this is one of the newer ones. He has a series that kind of center around this idea of floating and this idea of getting away and being kind of like high in the sky and in space and stuff. The other one is called Helium. These are great poems. These are great word plays, teaching of word plays. He has a few sections that just have like new, like honestly just like new words to learn and to use around. And so that's super fun. He plays a lot more with format, I would say, in this one than he does in Helium. But this is kind of finding that new trend, that new voice. And I really think that he does a great job. I would recommend any of Rudy Francisco's works, but this is one of the cooler ones that he has. If you want something that is going to just destroy you in as little pages as possible, and every morning the way home gets longer and longer, from Frederick Backman. This book is 76 pages, and it is obviously a novella. That's the term that is used for very small books like this. But this is just absolutely soul-wrenching and beautiful. And it is about a grandfather, who has mental decline, some form of Alzheimer's, some form of dementia, and it is expressed the way that he remembers or doesn't remember. His kind of mind home is where a lot of the setting of this book takes place, and it's him walking, trying to remember, trying to regain anything that he can grasp, remembering who these people are that's with him, remembering his wife, his son, his grandson, who love him dearly. And I read this at a very bad time. I read this shortly, very, very shortly before my dad died of dementia. And then I read it again after a couple months after his passing, and I have not read it since. I recommend it to everyone who ever just wants a really short read that's a little emotional, because I think that it's important to kind of recognize what's going on. Because while it's written from a third person, mainly focusing on the old man, it also has a lot of very hard truths about what it means to be a family member taking care of somebody with a mental decline and having memory problems, there's this moment in this, I remember, of the old man not understanding why the boy is upset and why the boy is having a hard time communicating with him. And it's because he's very frustrated that he does not remember who he is. And it's so just soul-wrenching, but it's also for people who haven't experienced that experience is so raw in this, even though it's so short, that I really think that people who haven't gotten to experience that yet, this is kind of letting you know, with the friends and the family around you that have gone through it, this is kind of a peek behind that curtain, you know? And so I really recommend this. Also, just Frederick Backman, one of my favorite authors, he knocks it out of the park every time he writes something, but this is one of his shorter ones that I would recommend. Of course, me being the person I am, I can't let a list go without some kind of nonfiction. And so I would recommend The Serviceberry by Robin Wall Kimmerer. Oh, I don't know. But so sorry for that. But this is really good. I really super enjoyed this. I want to read her other book, which is Braiding Sweetgrass. That one's a little bit longer. I read this one in a day. I took notes on it as I read through it. And it's really just talking about how there's this idea of the natural world around us is giving us this gift, and we, as part of the natural world, have gifts to return and have a responsibility for preservation. And it is not scolding, it is not accusatory, but it is honest. And I really appreciate that about the way that she wrote this. She also brought in a lot of different books and articles and other authors that are talking about the same thing. So I ended up reading another book that was a reference for this one, that I could definitely see how it all was tying together. So, but that one is a longer read. But this one, I definitely think somebody could read this in a day and walk away with a stronger appreciation for the natural world. This is my all-time favorite book. Okay. And it's kind of longer, but it's about 245 pages. I just checked. And it's a bit longer, but once you get into it, it's very, very difficult to put down. 245 pages I can usually do in a day. I have read Piranesi in a day before. I've read it about 6 times since picking it up the first time. And I recommend this. I buy this for people as gifts. All the reader friends in my life have been given a copy of Piranesi, and if they haven't yet, I'm coming for you. you're getting a copy of this and you need to read it, because I love talking about this book. I love like reading and seeing other people's reviews of this book. I think that everybody should give this book a crack. It is journal style. The author is writing in his journal, and we are being drug along in his journey of figuring out this house that he's living in, this massive, seemingly endless house, trying to navigate relationships with the people who enter the house or the people who are a part of the house that he is interacting with as well. It's a little bit mysterious, it's a little bit fantasy, it's a little bit tense, but it all flows together incredibly well. And I think that Susanna Clarke is a genius for writing this book. Okay, last but not least, I have a stack of my favorite author, who is Claire Keegan, and she basically writes all like day reads. I have almost read everything that Claire Keegan has written. I just need to read Antarctica and then I'm done. And I'm very excited about that. But I physically own 4 of her books, which are Small Things Like These, So Late in the Day, Walk the Blue Fields, and Foster. And out of the 4 of these, I would recommend Foster and then Small Things Like These. These 2 were my favorites that I've read so far. Small Things Like These follows the story of this small Irish town, this man who comes across kind of a secret within his town, within the church, and navigating where his responsibility lies with this secret that he comes across. There's a movie out about this that Cillian Murphy stars in. I haven't watched it yet, but this is a super short read. I read this in, I think, an hour, and I loved it. And I've read it a couple times since then. Foster by Claire Keegan is talking about this child who is taken. I'm reading straight off the thing, okay? A child is taken by her father to live with relatives on a farm, not knowing when or if she will ever be brought home again. And so it's kind of talking about like the name says, like they're fostering this child, but it's talking about the building of family and what family means when maybe it's not a nuclear definition. And I really enjoyed it. Foster actually was my first Claire Keegan novella, whatever you want to call it. And my second one was Small Things Like These, and I read them very close to one another, I think just a couple weeks apart. And then I have been on a journey of reading all of Keegan's works since then. I love everything that I have read by her, so I am very happy to recommend these to you. Now, there is another book that is science fiction that I would recommend that I don't have physically and I don't have on my Kindle. It's actually the first audiobook that I ever listened to, and it's All Tomorrows by C.M. Coastman. It follows billions of years of human evolution and just what happened to the human species, like billions of years from now. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't think that I would enjoy it as much as I did. It was insane. It was bonkers. I spent an entire date night rehashing, basically word for word, this novel to my husband, who was honestly not all that interested. But I definitely think that it would be something that if you just want an out there mind fuck of a read, I would recommend All Tomorrows. I kind of want to get the physical copy or the Kindle version or something. Like, I kind of want it because the audiobook was amazing, but I also kind of want to see how some of these like names and places are spelled and how it actually like physically reads versus how like the narrator told me about it. The last thing I have for you is a horror genre, and it's on my Kindle, and it is Ring Shout by P. Clark. And I read this in 2 days, actually. I had to break it up because it was getting to me. Like, I had a dream I had a dream on the night between the reads about it. And so that second day, I kind of went a little slow with reading it. It's 188 pages on the Kindle version. And it follows Black and people of color main characters who are in the 1920s in Georgia, and the KKK have come in and taken over in Macon. And it follows the KKK, but it mainly follows these main characters, but they are killing the KKK because some of those Klan members are demons that are from another dimension, kind of how the church views angels and demons in real life. They come from another spot in the veil, and they come and they possess people, and they inhabit human bodies to do evil. And so these main characters are demon slayers, and they are going in and destroying these Klan members to get them out of Macon, out of their town. And it follows kind of this character progression of what does it mean to harbor grief in the form of anger? And what does it mean to let that go? And that was kind of a subplot that's kind of buried down until like it explodes towards the end. And I loved that aspect so much. I wish it would have been expanded on just a bit more, but I super recommend it because honestly, it's a fun read. It reads like it's from the 1920s in Georgia. It reads like it is just Black church culture coming in and taking over and getting rid of some really bad men. It was a fun one. I did enjoy that because the book I was reading alongside it was not fun at the time. So, well, that's what I have for you. A couple books that are day read recommendations. If you have any other ones that I should read, let me know. I would love a couple day read recommendations for myself because day reads are really fun on lazy days or in between bigger reads, or if I'm like honestly celebratory, like celebration reads for me is so fun. I've had a big day. I had a big final with school, so I'm going to read something fun because I can. And I think that that's I think that that's kind of a motivator for me. Sometimes I don't want to read a massive thick book. Sometimes I want just something that I can consume over a couple hours and start, finish, happy, success, you know? So if you have anything like that, you could always like drop a line, hit a girl up. But this has been your recommendation list. I'll see you around.